Hello everyone, my name is PJ and welcome to The Void. What is The Void? Well, it's this place. A vast emptiness all my own in which I can do or make anything I want in a snap.
Ooh, nice place you got here.
Huh. That's not what I... Anyway, when I was a kid, a strange little PS1 game called Skull Monkeys happened into my family's possession. It was so bizarre and surreal that we didn't know what to make of it at the time. Since my family showed almost no interest in the game, we got rid of it. Fast forward to my early adulthood when I hear about this lesser-known cult classic PC game called the Neverhood. The Neverhood is one of those games that isn't popular at all, yet you still hear about it everywhere. People are always clamoring for a remake or a port, but it's never, ever gotten one. Not even after its recent sequel, Armacrog. As for why, well, it's owned by EA now, so take a fucking guess. And when I heard that Skull Monkeys was actually a sequel to the Neverhood, suddenly I became intrigued by both. I even managed to find a rare hollow cover copy of Skull Monkeys at a yard sale for only 25 cents shortly after. Talk about fate, right? But my interest in playing the Neverhood would have to wait to be sated, for it was an old PC exclusive with no ports, and those are impossible to play these days. But just recently, the Neverhood became compatible with a specialized PC emulator called ScumVM, which I used to play Curse of Monkey Island before it finally got ports. Finally, I was able to play the game I'd waited 10 years to play. So here's your spoiler warning, and here's my review. The Neverhood was made by DreamWorks Interactive, a short-lived branch of DreamWorks that made a small handful of games, including Medal of Honor and Jurassic Park Trespasser. Yeah, if you watch AVGN, you can probably guess why they weren't around long. But the Neverhood in particular was probably their biggest and most ambitious project of all. So first, let's talk about the graphics. The entire game, both cutscenes and gameplay, was filmed in stop motion using real, room-sized environments made of wood, cardboard, and over 3 tons of clay. If you know anything about stop motion, you should already be incredibly impressed. There are a few instances that use 2D animation, but not many, and they don't go overboard. Clayman, the main character, is a 2D sprite built from photos of a clay model. They gave him a lot of personality, like this animation where he dingles his fingers before pushing a button. They didn't have to waste time and money animating these little details, but they did. Love was put into this game. So I can kind of forgive these two scenes where Clayman is dizzy, but there are no visuals to indicate it, only sound. The art direction is very thematic, with every house being a different color and style. Even the flora and fauna feel otherworldly. It sort of reminds me of the mysterious stranger scene from The Adventures of Mark Twain. The only problem I have with the graphics is that they flip Clayman's sprite when he faces the other way, which wouldn't be apparent if he weren't asymmetrical. Either way, this game gets a hard point for graphics. Second, the music. Imaginarium Songs from the Neverhood is an album containing all the songs in the first 3 games in the series, including Skull Monkeys and Boombots. Of the 2 discs, the first is dedicated entirely to the Neverhood itself and has 43 tracks. The album was composed and performed by Terry Scott Taylor, who DreamWorks specifically requested. The music is very alternative, which is just another way of saying weird yet somehow good. It contains elements of jazz, a cappella, R&B, and folk, using banjos, jar harps, and bizarre vocals. It's very entertaining to listen to and is one of the only video game soundtracks that I feel can be enjoyed without any knowledge of the game. But therein lies its one problem. Almost none of the game's music really feels attached to any of its scenes or areas. You could swap the songs that play in 2 houses and it wouldn't feel all that different. Listening to the songs, though, you can tell that Taylor was just having fun making them, which is why there's so many given the length of the game.
Sound effects record number 32. Man reading. Woman in outer space. Dead insect. A swarm of dead insects.
He probably wasn't directed much on how to write it, apart from being told to make it sound like clay. That happened. Music easily gets a +1. Third, gameplay. Unlike most of its sequels, the Neverhood is a point-and-click adventure, and unlike other point-and-clicks like Monkey Island, there is no UI and the inventory system is very simple. Almost all the items you collect are the discs that explain the backstory, and the rest are keys that are used almost as soon as you find them. You navigate by clicking where you want Clayman to walk and click on things you want him to interact with. But when you're outside, it goes into first person and you move on rails from point to point. It probably has something to do with the way the environments were filmed. All around the Neverhood, there are doors, keys, puzzles, and puzzle solutions, and all of them must be opened, obtained, and solved to reach the end of the game. Some solutions are found long before finding the puzzle they go to, but you won't recognize them as a solution when you find them. Sometimes, though, you'll encounter a puzzle where the solution is to simply sit down and figure it out, like this sliding puzzle or this memory game. They feel really out of place in this game, especially this mouse-themed puzzle with interlinking doors. I spent over 30 minutes of my gameplay trying to solve this puzzle alone. Those aside, some of the regular puzzles have really cryptic solutions. In the beginning of the game, there are these 5 rings that you can pull. 4 of the 5 make random sound effects, but the 5th opens the door. So there you go. Puzzle solved. Right? Well, later there's a radio that you had to turn on, and when you pass it, it makes a cowbell noise. Now, would you have ever guessed that the way to turn the radio on is to pull the ring that makes a cowbell sound? You don't even remember what sounds the rings made once you're out of that house. Luckily, there's a hint system. In the basement of your house, there's a mailbox where you'll occasionally receive letters from another character named Willie. He gives you puzzle hints over the course of the game, but in order to read the letters, you have to backtrack all the way to your house. And that's something I haven't touched upon yet. The backtracking. Armacrog was criticized because it had a lot of backtracking. And to that I ask, did you even play the Neverhood? Half of the game is backtracking, unsolving and resolving puzzles in order to do so. There is one method of fast travel, but it's very limited, and while you can hit space to speed through areas you've been to before, it's only mentioned in the manual, which I don't have. Really wish I'd looked up a PDF before playing. Being a point and click, you'd think there wouldn't be any way to die, but there is. Just one way. There's a hole that says you'll die if you jump in it, and it's absolutely right. It's both hilarious and super trolly that this actually kills you. Like, it warned me, but I didn't believe it. If you're gonna do this though, be sure to save first. It's not like the gag game overs in other games where it resets you to just before your decision. I lost a good chunk of playtime from this, so be careful. This game would be tons of fun if getting around was less frustrating, but then this 5-hour game would be 2 hours shorter. I'm gonna give no score change for gameplay. Fourth, story. The Neverhood is one of those games that keeps its lore in reserve, only telling you what you need to know through the discs you find throughout the game, which, like the letters, are made by Willie.
Willie Trombone!
How did you get
Allow
here?
me to explain story.
Get out of my empty
Story
space.
of
There's
the
no
Neverhood.
room here.
You see, first, there was the father, who is basically God. Then he made Quater, who had 7 sons. Each son made their own world, one of which was the Neverhood, created by Hoborg. Hoborg was lonely, so he made a friend to share his world with. But Clog was made selfish by Hoborg's gifts and grew to want everything. He stole Hoborg's crown and robbed him of life. So I stole one of Hoborg's seeds and used it to create Kleeman, a hero who will either defeat Clog or join him.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know half of that if you didn't read the Wall of Chronicles.
I can't see.
Which, I'm just gonna put this video down here in the corner for no reason. Even though almost none of it comes up during the game, the Neverhood has a book's worth of lore and mythology behind all these gods and planets that we never even see. But strangely, it does serve a purpose. This lore sets up the sequels. The Skull Monkeys, as well as their creator and the world in which they live, do not appear in this game, but they are mentioned on the wall. There's an entire universe here ripe for use in various mediums, like games, books, comics, or a cancelled $20 million movie by Frederator, to name a few. If you like lore, you might be excited to read all of this, but I'd advise against it unless you can find it all written up online. To read the wall, you have to examine a column of text, scroll down by clicking, and then leave the close-up to walk to the next column. And if that video in the corner is telling you anything, it's that it takes forever just to walk to the end of the hall, let alone stop and read the whole thing. So while the story clearly had a lot of work put into it, it's presented in an extraordinarily amateurish way. You've heard of walls of text? Well, this is a hall of text. No points for the story. Fifth, presentation. The Neverhood is fully voiced, and each character gets their unique personalities across very well. Hoborg is simple-minded and kind.
This crown is the only thing that you cannot have.
Willie is cowardly and mischievous.
Clayman, up here!
Bill is, well... Bill. And the villain, Clog, is,
No hurry. I can wait here as long as you can.
No, let's have one of the game's developers explain it.
Two questions to ask yourself when designing a new character are, is he funny or is he scary? In the case of all the characters in the Neverhood, Clayman, Willie, they're funny. But in the case of Clog, they're very funny.
One of the coolest features of the game is this making of video that you can access at any time from the pause menu. Half of it is actual info about the game's development, and the rest is the staff just being as weird and bizarre as you'd expect them to be.
I just sit here with my hands folded in my lap, very quietly, and if anybody comes by, I scowl at them, and they think they're interrupting something important, and they go away.
This game comes with a very colorful manual filled with extra lore, a map, and even some hints. And in case you don't feel like reading the manual, it also came with a single-page slip that summarizes the hints and helps you through the first few puzzles. The cutscenes in the game are extremely entertaining. And it's got a great sense of humor, too. Did I mention Steven Spielberg was involved in this game? I don't know how he was involved, but he was. I'm just gonna throw that into the script. There we go. Anyway, +1 for presentation. And 8 out of 10 is the final score.
Yay!
No miscellaneous points this time. I've said everything I wanted to say. The Neverhood was a really mold-breaking game that definitely should have been more popular than it was. Where are the models and sets of the Neverhood today, I wonder? If they haven't been discarded, then they're probably cracked and dried up somewhere in one of EA's many slave dungeons. Anyway, if you like the Neverhood or if this video got you interested, please check out the Neverhood song, a vocal fan cover of one of the game's more catchy tunes. And for other games made of clay and cardboard, check out The Dream Machine, available on Steam, or the Neverhood's sequels like Skull Monkeys and Armacrog. Thank you for watching my video. Until next time, I'll be here, in the darkness, quietly awaiting your return.
And our waifu of the day is me, Willie Trombone!
Get out!